Hi everyone! So here we are in Stacy's art studio and it's April, so it's time for the April vlog. I can't believe it's April already. March flew by and it was a very busy March. So I have lots of videos that will be coming up in April of tours of the back garden, the cottage garden, the secret garden, and the kiddos courtyard. There's a lot of progress in a few of those places and a little progress in all these other places. It's been a pretty nice March. It warmed up for a good part of it, and I'm back in my sweater though. We had snow yesterday, and it's pretty chilly out there today. So that is why, even though in Albuquerque and then out in the East Mountains here, which is just east of Albuquerque, you'll get snow till the end of May. And so it's hard to resist planting because you get to a point where it's like really nice out. And you just really think that's it, winter's done, but then it sneaks back in and freezes everything. So I have to be really careful. Same here, it's the middle of April. So I'm resisting planting the food items that I have that I'll be going in, like tomatoes and things like that. Put in a couple of trees and put in all of the roses, which is fine because it doesn't get that cold. So looking forward to them growing, and they already are, so that's exciting. And my peach trees already bloomed and are, one of them's done blooming and the other one is getting close to the end of it blooming, and the leaves are already on it, so that's pretty exciting. So that's what's been going on as far as weather goes. The weather's funny here. I wanted to talk a little bit about gardening today and of course art. So let's start with art. So this month I did not paint much. I got what we like to call artist block. I did work on this piece. This is the only piece that I worked on this month. Let me see, I'll bring it up close for you to see up close. And I got lots of clouds done, and then I've got these distant mountains in, and then it just sat there because I just wasn't sure what I was going to do next on it. So that happens a lot. And for me, I'm grateful that artist block for me usually lasts for, I don't know, a few weeks, a month. Sometimes it can last quite a bit longer, but I've always found that it's better not to try to force myself back into painting. I do think about it though. I think that's part of artist block, is just trying to find that place of, you know, what are you going to be doing next? And I actually have a few projects in mind. I don't have the canvases. So sometimes, you know, when I don't have a lot of canvases, I found if I don't have a good pile of empty canvases available to me, I get more artist block than normal. And that's because I have too many ideas floating in my head, and I can't decide on just one. I feel very limited when I only have a couple of canvases left in the studio. So this month I'll be getting some more canvases in, and that should help me release some of the ideas that are in my head. And I have a couple of projects coming up. I have a special project coming up for a friend who's getting married, so I'm excited about that one. I've got it sketched out and planned out, so I'm really happy about that. And then I've got a large piece that I'm going to be working on for our home. I've talked about it before, but I'm looking forward to working on that as well. Also, the kiddo has had even more appointments, and April is really full of appointments, but he's starting to feel a little better, so we're making progress, so that makes me happy, and I hope that soon he'll be feeling okay. He still, of course, will always have issues, but we like to get to a point where he has at least some quality of life, and he does. It's, you know, compared to so many others, he has quality of life, but he's struggling with a few things that are painful for him, so I'm looking forward to it resolving just a little bit, but we do have a lot of appointments, lots of different ists, as I call them, the specialists. And it's been a long year for a lot of appointments for him. And you know, I don't like to talk about my own struggle with that because his is so much worse than mine. But as a mother, it's not easy watching your adult child struggling with different health issues and different ways of supporting that, and seeing him trying to find his own way to cope with it. You know, you kind of have to stand back and let him find that way. And so it's really difficult, as I was always a very active mom, protective, and tried to find the best route for him. And I still do, you know, I try to find the best way to support him, but as many moms know out there in different levels of life, whether they're going through health problems, have had a really hard childhood, or a really easy childhood, or a happy childhood, or had lots of struggling, a lot of pain, it really doesn't matter. They still have to find their own way, and it's a struggle for adult kids to do that. And it's really hard for parents to step back and watch that and try to not interfere. And so that's kind of where I'm at, you know, trying to stand back and let him find his own way so that he can be successful as a person. But he still can't drive because of the narcolepsy, so I'm driving a lot. I no longer go in the appointments with him anymore. He does that on his own. And that process was kind of a transition period, I would say, from 18 years old till about now. And that's not an easy thing for myself, and it wasn't easy for him at first, because you know, he needed to do that on his own so he could have control of his own health care. And I really think that's really important, and I'm always there for him. For any kind of support he needs, I'm always in the waiting room. If he needs any kind of backup, I'm right there. So, you know, I think everybody should have backup. Everybody should have family. But we all need to have control of our own health care and how we deal with it. So that's what the last few years I've been working on, you know, helping him establish that system. So running his own insurance. He has a healthcare manager in his insurance because he has so many different ITs that he goes to. So they like to have a manager with that, because there's a lot of cost in taking care of him. So that's, you know, that he's got a manager on that, and that helps coordinate some of his appointments and things like that, and so that he can manage things himself. But I'm still driving him there, and I'm still supporting him, and it's been a pretty tough month, and the one coming up will be a little bit tough as well. So that's why I'm not doing as many videos as I have been, and also why I'm not painting as much as I was. I have been working outside a lot, but I'll get to that later. I wanted to show you some of the other things that are going on in the art world. So I know I posted this a little while ago, so this is now up as a print at fineartamerica.com. Look for Stacey's Art Studio. Just type in that and you can find it. And I've already got somebody who got a phone cover of that one, and I think that's so cool. I think I'm going to order one myself, to be honest. And then we always say that, don't it? I'll be donating this painting. This is Where Cottonwoods Grow. It's inspired by the Sandia Mountains and the cottonwoods that lie around the Rio Grande River, which is one of the most beautiful things about living in Albuquerque, especially if you're on the west side, which we are. So, you know, your view is of the big Sandia Mountains, and in front of that you see the cottonwoods that lay along the river. You don't always see the river because the cottonwoods are really, really huge. They are such big trees. You know, I need to look it up, but I would guess at least 100 feet. They're so tall and so big. And in the winter, I mean in the fall, they turn a bright yellow. And then the Rio Grande River goes right through the middle of Albuquerque, and it's really quite pretty. We have a couple of bridges that you can go over so you can see it. And so this painting, that inspired me, and I like the saying where the cottonwoods grow. It's from an old movie. I probably haven't even seen the movie, but I like the quote. It was a John Wayne movie, and he said he would build a house for his loved one where the cottonwoods grow. And I think that's such a sweet sentiment that I did this painting based on that. And it's not the exact Sandia Mountains, because I don't actually usually paint exact. I kind of do, I want to dream space. That's the kind of work that I do, is I want this space that it's like a dream world, a place that has a little bit of reality to it, but a place that you want to walk into and hide out for a while. And so that's why I don't do exact. However, this painting here, Peachy Bosque, is actually from a photograph that I took in Bosque del Apache. And this painting is also going to be going to that fundraiser. So the fundraiser is called Aaron Trujillo Children's Cancer Fund of New Mexico, and they do a golf tournament and fundraiser in the middle of summer here. I believe it'll be in July. When I get the exact dates, I'll talk about it a little bit more, but I'd like to tell you a little bit about the Children's Cancer Fund and how it's helped us as a family and how it helps other families. So while we were in treatment, and the things that they did, and I'm not really up on what they do now, to be honest. I think there's more stuff that they do, but while we were in treatment, some of the things that were really valuable to us is they coordinated women who made quilts for the kids, which is so beautiful. That is such, I cannot tell you what a gift that is. It is not life-saving medicine. It's not the oxygen tanks that were keeping my son alive. It wasn't none of any of that. But when he came out of his coma, he was really quite distressed. It was very hard for him to cope with the thought of he was fine one minute and then he was out the next, and now he's waking up to so much pain and a future of pain, and he had a really hard time. In fact, he was unhappy with me for a time for saving his life. I did CPR on him to keep him alive, and I can understand that because when you're 6 years old, it's so hard to figure out what's happening, and the kind of pain he was in was hard for me to watch, and it was hard for him to cope with. And he eventually, you know, got his strength back and was ready to fight. But for a while there, he didn't want to fight. And it was early on in that time, excuse me, I'm getting choked up about it, that he was given a quilt by one of these ladies. And he still has it. I'll have to get it out sometime and show it to you. It's a little red quilt with hot air balloons on it. And he loved that quilt. It was really important to him. And he took it with him everywhere he went, to every hospital stay, and even every hospital, day. He had it with him all the time. And so that's one of the beautiful things that they do. And then the other things that they do is they provide snacks and little drinks in clinic for the kids. Again, I'll probably get choked up when I tell you this story, but it's going to be a longer vlog today than usual. I apologize. But he would have to have spinal taps every month, and thankfully it was with anesthesia. It'd be so much worse without anesthesia, but the problem is that of course he couldn't eat before a spinal tap, and he was on really heavy doses of steroids, which makes a kid really hungry. And then he was always so sick, he could hardly ever keep anything down. So he was really quite miserable between being hungry and being nauseated. And then when you go in for a spinal tap day, you have to wait. It's, you know, emergencies come in before a spinal tap, and that's reasonable. I understand that, but it can be hours and hours. You know, it would run from 1 to 6 hours before he had a spinal tap, and he would be just having a really hard time because he was so hungry and so miserable waiting. And then they do the spinal tap, and they do that to check for any cancer in cells in the spinal fluids, and then they put chemo back into the spinal fluids to keep that from happening. Now, for the kiddo, he had cancer cells in his spinal fluids when they did the first spinal tap, so they knew it had gone to his central nervous system. So that's one of the reasons that they would put chemo in there. Anyway, so by the time he had the spinal tap and he was waking up from anesthesia, which he didn't do well, he really was quite a miserable, grumpy child. Coming out of anesthesia, he got really stuck in that. And he'd be starving, and so then it was time that we could get him food, and I'd have snacks or whatever with me, but because he was so miserable, he wouldn't always want what I had with us. But we'd get up to clinic, and there everybody was there to help him, and they'd have little snacks, and because it was different and it was a gift, he responded to that so much better, and so I was always really grateful for that. And then the other things that they would do, they would help with a little bit of gas costs when you live out of town, which we did, and it sure helped a lot for us. And they also would help with some food in hospital when you're in the hospital, because that can be really tough. So, and they also have scholarships for the kids after, you know, a certain time, and they can apply for those scholarships, and that's another beautiful thing. And they offer counseling services, which is really very helpful because these kids are really going through a lot of traumas. Some, you know, it's not just about the treatment, but it's about mistakes. Humanity makes mistakes. We're not perfect, so things can happen, you know, in hospital that maybe didn't go exactly the way it should, and it caused more trauma for your child than it should have, which happened quite a bit to my kiddo. So, and also because he started out so hard, he'd been misdiagnosed, so he was exceptionally sick. He had a lot of complications over the years. And I'm very grateful to the Children's Cancer Fund for those kind of things that they did. Again, it's not about the medical side of it, but it's about the support and the kindness and the small things that really, really are important. And they make things so much better through that process. And so I'm always really happy to provide a painting or two for the silent auction in July, and I hope that they raise a lot of funds. They have done one more thing this year that in the last few years that really touched my heart. It's an amazing thing. So what they've done is they've built a home that is a hospice home, and I'll get choked up again, but it's for kids who are terminal and can't go back home. Where we live, a lot of people live very far from the hospital. This is a huge state, and there's not much in between where people live, so it can be hours of driving. So if a child is sick and dying, but they live 4 hours away, they can't go to their home. And so this Children's Cancer Fund has built one here in Albuquerque, and those children who can't go home can go to this home. And it's large enough their whole family can be there with them, and the doctors can come there, and hospice can come there and help them. And you know, it's sad, but it's a beautiful gift for them, you know, so that they can be comforted and be comfortable and not be in the hospital in their last days. Sorry. Okay, so there you go. That's all about the Children's Cancer Fund and why I love them. And hopefully people out there can give them their support. And so now I'm going to move on to happier things. Let's talk about gardening. Gardening is also a real gift. Since this last month's been pretty tough, I've been moving rocks again. It's nice to be able to work outside, and you get a sense of fulfillment and you get a good workout. So in my back gardens, and I'll be doing tours of that soon, I've moved more rocks into the middle pathway, which I had intended in doing. It was just, hadn't gotten to it yet. And that big weird circle that had the funny flagstone rock in it, I figured out what to do with. I took them out and I used them for stepping stones in my path over here where I moved the other rocks. And then I made my husband go rock hunting with me, which he might, you know, I can't really push it. He might actually divorce me over that. I'm not sure. So I am an addict. I am a rock hunting addict. I have to tell you, I have the best memories. My very best memories with my son is with my son and my parents out rock hunting. I think he was really quite the happiest when he was out rock hunting with his grandma and grandpa. And we have traveled all over. I mean, New Mexico has been rock hunted. And we used to take the camper out and just go places and rock hunt everywhere. And Arizona, parts of Colorado. And we haven't done a whole lot of rock hunting out in the east. But here we have. So my folks, they don't live near us anymore. So I haven't been rock hunting much. And I went out with my husband. We went out really far out and we found a bunch of rocks, and he didn't really enjoy it, but I got a bunch of really cool rocks. So I have some rocks in the back and I have some rocks in the front, and in the back I also dug out my hole for my fountain reservoir, and I've got that in, and then I've got the rocks on top of that. I still need to get the fountain pump so I can run the fountain over these rocks, which has been my dream goal for a long time, so I'm really excited. I'm getting closer to that. And then I planted some trees up back there. Oh, and I finally finished all the trim painting on the house. Now I have to tell you, I do not enjoy trim painting. I really don't like it. I love to paint. I don't like doing that at all. But it's finished, and it won't need it for a couple more years, so that's good. And let's see, in the secret garden I planted another rose, and I've cleaned that up and it's looking pretty good. You know, I'll do a video of that. And in the desert cottage garden I got some rocks in, and we're working on some, the kiddo helped me build trellis for one of the roses, and we're going to be working on more trellises. And we finished the garden gate. I know you probably saw the picture on Instagram. So that is now a safe area for Molly. She can't get in there and harass the tomatoes, and mostly I just worry about her. I don't worry about the tomatoes so much. But now that they're both safe, tomatoes and Molly are safe. So I've been really busy doing all that. So I recently already showed you a tour of the studio and how that's changed just a little bit. And then, oh, the strawberry bed is built. I finished it. I am surprised that it turned out okay, to be honest. When I started it, it just sure seemed hinky the way I was building it. I thought, it's never going to be okay. But I finished it and trimmed it out. It looks really good. I'm still getting dirt in there. I built the bottom. It's really huge. I made a really tall one because I just didn't want to be bending over it that much. But that means there's a lot of space to fill. So I've been filling the base with, I had to dig up some plants that didn't make it last year, stuck them in there. Some leftover lumber that wasn't treated, and it's, you know, it can just decay. And I've been throwing all of my food scraps in the bottom, and it's filling up. So I got that about 3/4 of the way filled with just filler, and then I've got a few bags of dirt on top of there, so I'll be bringing in more dirt. Hopefully I'll have that finished by the time I can plant the strawberries. My little nursery indoor, I'll do a little video of that. They're not getting enough sun. One of my goals on this house was to make sure we had a lot of shade around the house because it gets way too hot and the energy costs are too high in the summer. So I've accomplished a lot of that, and so I don't get quite enough sun in my window. They germinated really well because it was nice and warm for them. And then the sun was good for a while, but the sun is shifting, you know, as we're in the spring. So it's the light is shifting. So the last few days it's been too cold, but when it gets nice and hot out, I've been taking them outside and letting them sit in the sun for that. And I have way too many. I don't have enough room for all of the ones that germinated. I was just surprised at how many germinated, so I'll be giving away a bunch of tomato plants. And then hopefully they'll hang in there till the middle of April, and I'll be able to get them in the ground, and we'll see how they do. I'm really looking forward to that. And so April's going to be super busy. Lots and lots of appointments to go to, and I'm going to try to be working in the garden quite a bit, and I'm going to be trying to work in the painting, but we'll see. Hopefully I'll get some painting videos up for you. I do have a goal of getting one video up sometime in April making hand wash soap that's natural and homemade. And then I'm going to be changing a little bit with YouTube. I realized I haven't done a good job of having the recipe easy for you to follow. I haven't put it in any descriptions. So this year I'm going to do a lot of those videos kind of over, because we'll be going through the year as we do. We'll be collecting stuff and making oils, and then we'll be making lotions again and ointments and all that sort of stuff. So as I redo them, I'm going to be putting the ingredients and the recipe down at the bottom in the description for you, so it'll be a little easier so you don't have to watch through all my rambling. But my goal, you know, a lot with my videos are just to show you how it's done. You can find, you know, recipes just about anywhere. There's so many out there, which is really, really nice. I think that it's great that there's a lot of access for that for us. But for me, the way I learn is I watch and then I can do. I'm not so good at reading instructions and then doing it. I'm much better. That's how I learn. I'm a visual learner. So I kind of wanted to share it as a visual thing for people who are visual learners. So I just kind of wanted to, you know, show you how I do it in the process, but I neglected those kind of details for you. So I'm going to work on getting those details done for you. So I'm sorry this vlog was a little longer than normal. I got all emotional, but I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you're having a great beginning of April. April and May are my favorite months here in Albuquerque. I'm going to be doing a little more videos also on gardening here in the high desert, because there's a difference between desert gardening and high desert gardening, and also there's a huge difference between gardening in the east and here. It's funny, I've never really done well with gardens where things should grow better than they do here, and I grow better. I grow things better here. I think it's because I just like the dry air better, and so I'm outside more, and so I take care of stuff better. Also, I'm really careful about what I plant, so that there's so much that grows here, but you can't, I feel, I'll put it, it's my own opinion, nobody else's, but I feel like you can't plant a willow tree here. A desert willow tree, sure, but an actual willow tree needs so much water. I mean, they're usually, you know, in a pond, and they need a lot of humidity, and so they're really not natural to here. So even though I love them so much, I wouldn't plant one because I don't want the responsibility of trying to take care of that and force it to live here. So those are the different things, and I'll be doing a little more talking about that. And also, I am not anywhere close to a master gardener or a master artist or nothing. It's just what I do, what I've learned over time, and kind of wanted to share it just because you don't have to be any of those things. They're great, and we are happy to learn from master gardeners and master artists, all of that. We're happy to learn from that and watch them, and that's wonderful, but I'm not, and I just kind of want to show just you can do anything when you want to, and it's just how you do it. And Molly's hanging out outside. I see her out there. She's thinking about barking. but she's enjoying the sunshine. She's mad I'm not out there with her, but it's just too cold today. Tomorrow it warms up, so I'll be back in the gardens, and I hope you all have a great April, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.